Are we
Mics
ready?
are on.
Ready?
Whenever you're ready.
Call the meeting to order of the City of Newport Beach Public Facilities Corporation Annual Meeting, August 8th, 2017. Madam Clerk, roll call.
The record will reflect that members Avery, Duffield, and who am I missing? 1, 2, 3. Oh, and that's it. Are missing.
All
Currently
right.
absent.
We'll have public comments combined on agenda and non-agenda items. Do we have any public comments? Please come forward.
Chair Dixon and members of the board, I wanted to thank all of you for your service on the Public Facilities Corporation Board of Directors. I know the hours are long, the work is hard, the pay is non-existent, and it's very difficult to rustle up an audience. But it's a job someone has to do. I thank you for doing that. I also want to thank you for so generously offering to lease back to the city the facilities that I understand from last year's minutes the city already owns. And I wanted to remind you of the little financial pinch that I understand the city is in under as a result of its unfunded pension liabilities, and was going to implore you through your sense of generosity and willingness to share the pain if you might consider this year reducing the rent that you could charge the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll come back. And now we are moving to the election of officers. We'll have Mayor Kevin Muldoon to serve as chairperson of the corporation, Mayor Pro Tem Duffy Duffield to serve as vice chairperson of the corporation, and the remaining council members to serve as the corporation board of directors.
So
may I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously, 5-0.
Thank you. And I have a speech prepared for this honorable occasion. My first statement is just to remind Mr. Mosier and others in the audience that this corporation and this overseeing of bonds essentially was voted on by the prior council, and none of us here made that decision. Jim? Item 1, minutes of the August 9, 2016 Public Facilities Corporation meeting. I understand that Councilman O'Neill and Councilman Herdman were not present and have to abstain from this motion, but is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. And with that, it is my understanding before we vote that as long as the majority of those council members present vote in the affirmative, the motion can pass, correct, Madam Clerk?
Correct.
Okay, so the 3 council members who are able to vote, please vote.
The motion carries 3-1, and actually, Councilmember Herdman will also be abstaining, so 3-0-2.
Thank you. Current business, staff.
Chairman and members of the board, the bylaws of the Newport Beach Public Facilities Corporation call for an annual meeting of the board of directors. The bylaws specify that the chief financial officer shall maintain adequate financial records concerning the receipt and disbursements of the corporation, and the board of directors are entitled to inspect the associated financial records. Currently, there is one outstanding lease financing, which is the 2010 certificates of participation. These were used to refinance the Central Library, original certificates of participation, and partially finance the Civic Center parking lot, library expansion, and park. For the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017, the debt service amounted to $10.6 million. We received a federal subsidy of $2.4 million, which reduced our net debt service payment to $8.2 million. The current principal balance is $107.4 million, and the remaining net interest, net of the federal subsidy, is expected to be $68.7 million over the next 23 years. In substance, these were the main transactions of the year. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the financial statements or the corporation's transactions.
Any questions from the dais? Councilman O'Neill.
Yes, thank you. Maybe just two. On page 2-2, we've got a section here that is discussing the 2010 COP debt service with a total amount of $218,906,847. That is the total minus the amount that we would anticipate coming from, that is the total amount without any offset for the federal BAB subsidy, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the only reason I'm asking about that is because when I was looking at the city's website in conjunction with this meeting, there are two portions of our finance section of the website that references certificates of participation, and right now it only has principal and interest, but it doesn't have a total absent the BAB subsidy. Maybe it would make sense to put the principal interest total and then subtract out BAB subsidy and show the total.
Sure.
If that's what the corporation is looking at, it probably makes sense for the public to see it too.
That would make it clear.
Yeah,
Sure.
and then the other thing is on that same website, there's a long-term liability section, and it shows an original issue and outstanding balance, but the only outstanding balance it's showing on at least the city website is $113 million, which I understand to be the principal. It probably makes sense, again, to show the full amount, particularly given the non-refundable nature of it. And even if we're showing that as an outstanding balance, that total amount minus the BAB subsidy, it would still be better for the public to be able to see that.
Sure.
Yeah, and if after this you want me to show you exactly which website I'm talking about, I'm happy to, but it would just be better when we're looking at these kinds of numbers at this meeting that the public see the same thing when they
Right, to
look at
have
our
the
website.
interest component as well.
I believe so.
Sure.
Thank you.
Excellent. Councilman Piotr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor or Mr. Director. I just want to go out of the way to explain again the whole thing about COPs. This was an end run around taking $128 million of borrowing to the voters. It's a way for us to, we build the building, we give the building to the finance corporation for $1. They turn around and lease it to us for $10 million a year, and then they use that $10 million cash flow to float and pay off bonds. So we're $128 million, and looks like we're $110 million left, Steve, as far as principal.
110, yes.
So 110 left to pay up until the year 2041 at about $22,000 a day. But it is a really nice city hall. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments from the dais? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve
Receive and file.
the receive and file. Thank you.
I'll second.
Second. All right. Now, all of us present are able to approve this, correct? Okay, so council vote.
Oh, motion carried unanimously, 7-0. 5-0.
Excellent. And with that, we are adjourned.